Hey guys, Jemma for S.H.I.E.L.D, Season 3, Episode 15, Spacetime, and I was really looking forward to this episode, mainly because I really didn't know where we were headed, because last week's, of course, we kind of got away from Hydra. We focused on a group that I think was just as, much of a threat as Hydra, the Watchdogs, but this episode we really focused more on Hydra, and this was by far one of my favorites of this season. I really love this episode. We had a really great story. It was funny. It was really dramatic, and it was just a really interesting story overall. I definitely really love the way this episode was done, but let's just get into it because I really did enjoy it, like I said, and the way this episode starts, you can tell kind of like the tragic, sad direction this episode is, because this is a pretty sad episode, and I like the way it was done here. We meet this homeless man, Charlie Hinton. He's sitting in an alleyway in Diker Heights, New York. He's carving a robin, and we don't know why he's carving this robin. We eventually find out why, but when the grocery store owner, Edward Abbott, comes out with some garbage, Charlie assures him that he's not trying to hurt anyone, and basically, Edwin tells Charlie that he can't sleep back there anymore because it's bad for business, and I think this is a very realistic portrayal of someone that's homeless. I mean, they don't really have a home. They don't know where they're going to be, and they kind of just pick where they please because they don't have anywhere to sleep, and Charlie offers to help. Edwin tells him to head out, points out a nearby shelter. He gives Charlie some money for breakfast, and basically, he's trying to be a good guy and everything, even though he doesn't want Charlie to sleep there. Already, they flesh out his character really well, but then when their hands touch, Edwin begs Daisy for help. Now, we don't know how Edwin knows Daisy, but he says they're running out of time, and this is where he dies, and right away, I mean, I was already very interested. I'm like, alright, this is very interesting. How does he know all this stuff? The team then intercepts an emergency dispatch about Edwin calling 911 and asking for Daisy, and says that Hydra's after him. They head for the location. Coulson identifies Edwin. He has no affiliation with any intelligence organization, so they have no idea where this guy is coming from. They've never heard of him, and Daisy doesn't recognize him either. So clearly, Edwin found a way to communicate with Daisy. Charlie found a way to do that. We don't really know how, but somehow he's communicated with Daisy, and I don't really know what's going on there. It's very interesting. Already I was really hooked. I was like, all right, what's going on? I mean, this was all so interesting to me, and I love the way this was done. So basically, Coulson insists on going with them since Mac is recovering from the injury sustained against the Watchdogs, and because of this, Mac is barely in this episode. He's not really there for most of it, and basically, because of that, because of him not being there, which I was fine with because of the fact that all of the last episode focused pretty much on Mac and was all Mac-centric. So I definitely was okay with him not being there, but we did get to focus a lot more on Daisy, which, as you know, Daisy probably is my favorite character on the show if I had to pick one. So I definitely really enjoyed that, and they arrive, and Edwin recognizes Daisy when she arrives, and Edwin explains that when he touched Charlie, he had a vision of the moment in the present where they meet, and he knows that Hydra attacked him because that's when she'll yell when they come out of the sky, and a Hydra flyer lands nearby, and Melinda yells, "Hydra!" The flyer opens fire. You don't know what's going on. I mean, this is crazy, and Edwin then warns that Daisy, that's where he dies, just as the Hydra agents gun him down, and we don't know what's going on here, how he knows this, but Daisy pretty much figures that Charlie is an Inhuman, and she runs into the alley, and Charlie's not like other Inhumans, though, because his power is not something that's really that much of a detriment, in more that he sees things. He sees the future, he knows how people dies, and it's very interesting. We sort of had that with Reyna last season, but she also had these incredible abilities. As we knew, she could turn into this different creature, and Charlie's not really like that. Charlie can just see things, and it's very interesting, and I really enjoyed that, and basically the flyer lowers a grabber, snatches Charlie. Daisy manages to grab his hands, he's pulled up, and that's when she sees the vision, which is a wounded Lincoln fighting away in a security office. She sees Fitz and Jemma holding hands in the snow, Coulson shooting her, and a dying Charlie saying that he hoped that she could help, and then the vision ends. So she has no idea how this is happening. The others arrive. Daisy picks up a car of Robin, realizes that what she saw hasn't happened yet, and this obviously scares her because how does Coulson shoot her? How is Lincoln wounded? How does Charlie how does Charlie die? And I really like the way this was done because we've known since the second half of the season that there's going to be this apocalyptic-like future, and we don't really know when this took place, which I really like because it really just made me more interested, and for me, this episode just kept building and building, and I really love the way this was done. So at the Hydra, then they basically just want to find out how they can stop this. So at the Hydra base, Hive goes to Malick's quarters, and Malick congratulates Hive on his recovery. Now, let me say, I haven't been too keen on this whole Hive thing. I think that a lot of it, like I said, it did feel like they were just trying to save the actor because the actor who plays Ward, he's very talented and everything, which, yeah, he was, but I haven't really loved Hive as a character. This is the episode where I really got into his storyline. I think everything they did with this episode, I really enjoyed, and it really shows what Hive is going to do. Hive is not necessarily our main villain, rather than he is kind of helping out Hydra in many ways. So basically, he thanks Malick for bringing him back and asks why. Malick explains his ancestors believed that if they returned Hive, then they would be rewarded, and together they're supposed to take over the world, and Hive points out that Malick already has 9.2 billion, and wonders what he can give Malick that he doesn't already have, because, Malick is such a powerful figure, and Malick says that he's dedicated his life to a higher power, and Hive figures that Malick seeks true power, and he's going to teach him exactly how to do that. He wants to show him what true power feels like, and as Hive speaks, Hydra agents bring Charlie in, and Charlie can really be a good ally for Hydra, because what he can do, definitely shows. I think what he can do definitely shows, that he can kind of threaten Hydra. He can kind of make them see things, and I just really like the way that was done. Very interesting overall. The team returns to base. Daisy explains her vision. Coulson asks if Fitz and Jemma if it's even possible, because he doesn't know if this can really happen. They've never really encountered something like this before, and they agree that it is, and Daisy suggests they reverse engineer the visions and change the vision, but I like the way that Fitz explained this, because Fitz explained right away that you can't change this. This is the future, and it's not going to be changed, and she refuses to believe it and says that she has to save Charlie, and Fitz insists that they can't change the future because it's already happened. And look, a lot of shows have their own rules with time travel, and I thought this worked out really well. You can't change the future because it hasn't happened yet, but it's destined to happen, and Coulson figures that they have to try and stop Hydra, and he has a strategy. He says they have to keep Daisy in the base because she's in the vision and Melinda isn't. So he's going to have Melinda go instead, and Daisy insists on going, but Coulson says it's the only way to save Charlie because they want to keep him from dying. Obviously, they know he's going to die, and they don't want that to happen. So until then, he won't pick up a gun. And as the agents run a database search on Charlie, Lincoln and Coulson discuss the temporal possibilities, and Coulson by far the best line in this episode when Coulson talks about Terminator. Lincoln says he didn't like it, he hasn't seen it, and Coulson says you're off the team. I just love that. And I like that we got more Lincoln-Coulson interaction. One of the best parts of last week's episode was that showing that Lincoln bonds well with all the characters, not just Daisy, and I really like that. But Lincoln suggests the Inhumans' powers were designed to fulfill a plan. Everything Raina said was true. If you remember, Raina kind of had the same ability, but this is much different. So Daisy was able to change the outcome. Raina, of course, as you remember, she could see a lot of things and things like that. While it seems like Charlie, he can only see how people die, which is very interesting. So Daisy was able to change the outcome, and Lincoln and Coulson both hope that she can do it again. The search comes up positive on Charlie to discover that he has a family as they prepare to secure them. Lincoln says he'll kill Coulson if he shoots Daisy, and you guys know I haven't loved the whole Lincoln-Daisy romance. Just those two, I don't really feel the best chemistry, but it made sense here. You saw that Lincoln cares about Daisy. It's just when those two are together that it just doesn't work as well for me. But they are starting to get better. I definitely will say that it's not as cringeworthy, it's not as awkward, and I think definitely they're starting to fit more into their roles because they're getting more used to it, which was only a matter of time, and I like seeing that. So, and it also shows that they're becoming better actors. I mean, Chloe Bennett was already a very good actor, but the actor that plays Lincoln, he's good. He's not great. I think definitely, compared to everyone, he's not the best, but I think he is definitely getting into that role. So Daisy describes her vision to Fitz and Jemma, explains that they were on a rooftop near a flashing billboard. She's sure that whatever happens that night. So it's not going to happen in the season finale. It's going to happen that night. And I was thinking that it was, going to happen in the season finale, but we know that whatever happens, it's going to happen that night, and basically they have no time. So Malick, Hive, and Gaia arrive at the building, transient with a flashing sign on the roof. Melinda arrives at the lab. Fitz explains he's tasked all servers to search for the keywords from Daisy's mission, words like to them touching hands, or Daisy being shot, or Lincoln being wounded, all of those things. And Daisy says she's going to do everything possible to find Charlie, but Melinda insists that they can't, and Jemma explains that some of the servers are searching for Andrew, and Fitz assures them that they'll leave those servers alone. And once he does, Jemma asks Melinda if she thinks that they can change the future, and Melinda says the real fear would be changing the past, because the past, as we know, from 11/22/63, does not want to be changed, and they don't want to do that. And if you change the past, I mean, who knows what could happen in the future? Example, 12263. If you guys haven't seen that, that's a very good example of that. So Daisy sees agents bring in a woman, Polly Hinton, recognize her from her vision, and Polly realized that Daisy touched her husband. And I really think they fleshed out Charlie to his fullest potential, because I was worried when they said, oh, Charlie's going to die this episode. I'm like, oh, I don't want him to go. But they really fleshed him out to the best of their ability as much as they could, and probably more than usual, because they always seem to have someone on there that, they're trying to add to the team or someone like that. But Charlie was just, I think, a lot more fleshed out than your average, Inhuman, which I definitely like, because basically we realized right away that Polly is Charlie's wife, and Charlie was a teacher. He walked in on Polly and their 18-month-old daughter, and Daisy's questioning Polly, who explains that one day she found Charlie going through Terrigenesis, and when she touched his hand, she saw a vision of a car crash. They both saw a vision of Polly's mother in a hospital bed, code blue, and they had to stop physical contact, and at any time that Charlie touched someone, they would both see someone's death, and the visions all came true. And you have to wonder, I mean, this obviously probably scared her off because of the fact that, she saw these visions, and Charlie was never able to stop the visions from happening. And this probably really upsetted Charlie. Like, I feel like he really felt like it was his destiny to stop it, and he couldn't. And imagine if you had this ability, like, they touch your hand, and you can see the future, but you can't change that future. That future is just what it is. It's set in stone. You can't do anything about that. I mean, it would be one of the most maddening abilities ever, because you'd have this future, but there's nothing you can do about it except for it to happen. And when Daisy mentions the car of Robin, Polly says their daughter's name is Robin, and Charlie knew he could never hold Robin again. And it's a really sad story, but a very well fleshed out one, and a very interesting one. It very much reminded me of the story of King Midas, if you guys know that story. And that story, of course, is you have a king that gets very greedy. He turns everything into gold, and eventually he ends up losing everything, turning his wife into gold, and eventually, reverses the spell. The difference here is that Charlie didn't ask for this ability. He's not greedy. This is something he's had, and he can't really stop it, because if they touch his hand, they'll see a future that they don't want to see, and there's nothing he can do about it, and it really devastates all of them. And you can also understand why he can't hold Robin. I mean, just think of the things he can't do. He can't have sex with his wife. He can't hold his baby. He can't hold his, little daughter in their arms, their little baby in their arms. He can't really touch anything, because if he touches a person's hand, obviously he can touch objects, but if he touches the person's hand, then they're going to see a future that they don't really want to see. And it's really interesting the way this was done. Very well fleshed out, and I was very into the arc after that. I really love the way they handled all this. So Hive and Malick meet with Rowan Hamilton, his lawyers. The Hive director shows Rowan Coulson's artificial hand, points out the Transia manufactured some of the nerve wire interface hardware, and Malick also knows the Transia has been working on an exoskeletal assist prototype for the Defense Department and wants to buy the company. Gaia presents the paper, but Rowan refused to consider it, and Hive says it would be in Rowan's best interest if he signed it, and Malick says that Hive has his full authority to negotiate the deal. And when Rowan refused to negotiate, the Hydra agents bring in Charlie. He touches Rowan's hand. Rowan sees a future where Hive kills all of Rowan's lawyers. And, of course, because he doesn't know of Charlie's ability, he's thinking that by signing the papers, he can reverse this from happening. But right after that, Hive kills all Rowan's lawyers, and crazy stuff overall. Really crazy scene, but I like the way that they actually use Charlie to their advantage. They're not trying to just use him as a weapon. What they are doing is using him to see their future and knowing if they're victorious or not. I mean, the way that they can kind of scare people into doing that is very interesting, and I really enjoyed that. So once Hive is done, agents bring in the prototype, and Gaia explains that their men are taking control of the building, and Hive tells Malick to put on the prototypes that he can feel true power, because, he wants Malick to be more than just this powerful businessman who makes all the decisions and the leader of Hydra. He wants him to really be this more powerful, threatening being that it really seems that S.H.I.E.L.D. might not be as able to take down, which I definitely really liked and I thought was very well handled, and I really enjoyed that. But the other thing I think they did really well is show, I thought that Hive was going to be sort of like Malick's competition. Like, Hive would try to take power from Malick, which I still kind of feel like he does, but in this episode, he's just trying to make Malick that much stronger, and you really see that Hive is not necessarily the villain. Malick seems to be the true villain. He wants to get stronger, and together, him and Hive, I mean, it's one scary combination, definitely, which I really love, and you have to imagine what we're dealing with. I mean, Hive is an alien, and Malick is a human, but Hive has so many more abilities than Malick does, and he can teach them how to use these abilities to his advantage, which I really loved. So Daisy contemplates the car of Robin. Melinda sees her. She figures that Daisy still wants to go on the mission. Daisy says she can do it because she knows what's coming, and Melinda tells her to show her what's coming, and they set up a mock-up of the room that Daisy saw in her vision. and basically we see Coulson tell, so they're basically going to try to set out things up there, and Coulson tells his agents to shove a watch on the Hinton house, and here's the team working through the mock-up. He watches as they play out the vision with Melinda filling in for Daisy. They're not fast enough, and Daisy has them go through it again. And basically, at Transia, Malick puts on the prototype, crushes a metal vase. He casually overturns a conference table, misses that feels good. Hive says that if he wants to feel true power, then crush Rowan. And when Rowan tries to run, Malick easily grabs him. Hive says that he knows Malick has killed people, but true power is feeling the life go out in his hands. Basically, just like how Coulson killed. If you remember, the way that Coulson killed him wasn't just by a gun or by a knife. He killed him by literally with his bare hands, and that's the way that he needs to kill. A true villain, that's how he kills. He doesn't kill with a gun or a knife. And in many ways, yeah, I mean, that is true power. Using your hands, that kind of makes sense there. And basically, he asks if Malick feels anything, and Malick then crushes Rowan's skull. Crazy scene overall, but again, you can really tell that Malick is feeling that true power that he's wanted to feel, and I love the way that that was done. Really, really crazy stuff overall. But the way that that was handled, I really thought was interesting. And I definitely really enjoyed. So, really crazy stuff, the way that was done. I definitely, thought that, like I said, I thought that Hive was going to be Malick's competition, but he's not. It seems like Malick is getting stronger, and Hive is only making him stronger, which is very interesting. And I really thought it was a crazy scene, really, and I definitely love the way they're handling that. So Daisy runs another stimulation. Fitz wonders was going to stop Melinda from going. Jemma doesn't believe it. The next time those stimulate through the simulation, Melinda manages to beat the clock. An agent comes in and says they found the building that Daisy described, Transia. The only way is in through the security office in the ground floor. Fitz points out that Transia created Coulson's hand that he lost in the alien plant. As they head for the Zephyr, the alarms go off. Coulson says that they have an intruder. S.H.I.E.L.D. agents bring in Andrew, explaining he surrounded himself, and he tells the team that Lash is taking over, and he's about to turn for the last time, and Andrew came to say goodbye. And look, I think the Andrew Lash arc has been the probably worst arc this season. I just think out of all the arcs we've had, there have been some really great arcs, but I think this arc particularly hasn't been my favorite. It's been the weakest arc, but they handled it really well in this episode. This was just a really great episode that I think everything really worked, and particularly the Lash scenes, because you really understand that Andrew doesn't want to be Lash. He doesn't want to, Lash take over him, but I really the way this scene was done with Melinda and Andrew, because Melinda has a lot of unresolved feelings for how she feels about Andrew being Lash, and Andrew really wants to apologize, because she sits with Andrew, the containment model, so that she'll go out when she needs to. They've hooked, and basically, we see that Coulson tells Melinda that she can't go, but Melinda insists that Andrew's a killer, and she has no loyalty for him, because as we know, Melinda's not in the vision, and this kind of would explain why, despite that Coulson warns she'll regret it for the rest of her life, as if she isn't there for Andrew. Daisy says that she'll go, but Coulson and Lincoln will stay back to avoid what she saw in the vision, because we know that Coulson shoots her. So Coulson reluctantly agrees. They head for the Zephyr, and as they go, Coulson tells Daisy to watch her back and come home safe, and I just loved that line there, because, Coulson knows that he's going to end up shooting Daisy. He doesn't really know how that's going to happen, what's going to happen. They're very interesting the way that that was done. So, like I said, Melinda and Andrew, I think, is the weakest arc this season, but I thought the scene was very well handled. You really understood that Andrew feels the last time he's going to become Lash. They've hooked up Andrew up to an IV with the vaccine, and Gemma's been working on, and Melinda explains that it may work since Andrew's still transitioning. Andrew says that he can't fix anything, and he wanted to tell Melinda that he knows becoming inhuman changed him. He knows that a little bit of Lash is in him all the time, and there was a bit of him in Lash. However, this time when Andrew turns, he's afraid that he's going to be gone forever. He thinks that this is going to be it, and Melinda asks if Andrew would change the past if he could, and Andrew says that he would, but he just can't do that. However, he still feels that Lash is fighting for a cause that they don't understand, and he wants Lash in S.H.I.E.L.D's hands because they may need him. And yeah, that kind of would make sense. I mean, Lash is kind of in the Watchdogs before it was a thing. The difference is he's not in the Watchdogs, but in many ways he is like the Watchdogs, because as we know, he basically hunts down rogue Inhumans, basically. He wants to take them down, and in many ways he could be of use to them, because if Hydra's going to use these Inhumans as weapons, then he could be the one to take them down, and Lash could really be there for that, and I really like the way that they did that, because we know that Lash is bad, obviously. We know that Lash is kind of a villain, but this is a way to take Lash from being a threat to actually an ally, and I like the way that's done. It keeps Andrew on the show. and I really enjoyed that. So Fitz steps into Transient security systems. They see Gaia inside. Before the signal goes out, they catch a glimpse of Hive, and Fitz warns that it's no longer Ward. They now know about Hive. They don't know what it's Hive, but he knows that this is definitely not Ward, because Ward would not act like this. Ward did not look like this. And Daisy arrives outside Transia, goes inside. Melinda asks if Andrew would change anything between the two of them. If he had never met her, then he wouldn't have transformed into Lash. And Andrew turns off the IV, says that he wouldn't change a thing. Melinda says that she would. He insists that Melinda is still the center of the best things in his life, and he's exactly where he's supposed to be. Really nice scene. I like the way this was done. It really did feel like the final scene between these two. You don't know if we're going to see more scenes between Andrew and Melinda, but as we know, Andrew feels the next time he turns into Lash, he's not going to come back. This is just how he's going to be now. And Daisy then fights away in the security office. She takes to the guards, use her powers to knock out a guard before she can sound the alarm. It goes off anyway. Daisy sees a one-way mirror. The guard, Don, on the other side, prepares to shoot her, and Daisy sees a reflection of Coulson coming up behind her. He fires, kills the guard on the other side of the mirror. Coulson says she's going up to the roof, and basically because Hydra's taking Charles there. And as Daisy heads off, Coulson says he's going to find Ward, and of course he doesn't know that Hive is not Ward. He doesn't know that. He's thinking maybe Ward is back or something. He really doesn't know what's going on at this point. But I do like that slowly they are starting to find out stuff. They just have no idea what Hive's been doing with Malick and how powerful he's become. So Gaia and Hive head for the roof. Gaia explains that Malick has already left. When he asks they should kill any S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, Hive says to only kill the human ones, which is crazy because the thing is, he says he wants to kill all of them except for Daisy, because Daisy, as we know, is an Inhuman. She's not human, and that's very interesting. And they could use Daisy to their advantage, just like all the Inhumans, because they could use them against S.H.I.E.L.D. So Lincoln, Fitz, and Jemma arrive at Transio with a team of agents. Lincoln goes inside with a team, and while Fitz tells Jemma that they're still staying outside and points out that there isn't a cloud in the sky, so things are pretty much looking like the Vision, and Daisy heads for the roof. Lincoln meets Coulson's security office. They split up to search for the building for Ward. Andrew apologizes for dragging Melinda away from a mission, then convulses and basically turns into Lash. Daisy arrives to the roof, sees the Hydra agents taking Charlie to the helicopter. Malick hits her with an enhanced strength, and Daisy fires a blast that misses him and hits the sign overload, setting it on fire. And Lincoln finds Gaia, who telekinetically knocks him out with a metal fire extinguisher. Crazy, and now that's how we know that Lincoln was hurt. Andrew then runs to the adjoining table, locks himself in. Melinda goes to the window. They both put their hands on the glass. A really sad scene. I mean, the way that this was done, you really saw that these two really care about each other. Even though that Andrew's turning into Lash, and even though he knows that there's no going back, he still loves Melinda, and he'll do anything for her. And you just know that it's not going to be the same. Melinda now understands that Andrew really does care, and he's not Lash. When he's Lash, he can't really control himself, and I love the way that they did that. So, basically, Malick repeats Daisy repeatedly while Charlie watches. Fitz tries to raise Coulson on the comm. Jemma wonders if Daisy saw her own death, and they're thinking that Daisy might die now. They're freaking out, and Coulson tells the team not to engage. A wounded Lincoln says that he has his eyes on Ward, and Coulson tells him to pull up because they don't know what they're dealing with, which, yeah, they don't. They have no idea how advanced Malick is. They have no idea that Ward isn't Ward and that he's actually Hive. They don't really know much of anything, and I really like that. It adds a really interesting amount of it has this interesting amount of horror into the show because they don't really know the horrors of what they're dealing with. So Andrew collapses, he transforms into Lash. Malick prepares to finish Daisy off, but Charlie touches him. The Hydra director has a vision, then chokes Charlie to death, and Daisy manages to fire a seismic blast, slamming Malick across the roof. Charlie collapses next to her. Daisy realizes that he was meant to save her, and he says that he was meant to make a difference as the Hydra helicopter flies away. The ashes from the burning sign drift down on Jemma and Fitz. Jem points out that they're supposed to hold hands, and as they take each other's hands, Jemma says that some things are inevitable, and they don't know why this is happening. You can definitely tell these two are getting close. They're getting close. They're starting to get closer, and I'm pretty sure these two are going to be together by the end of the season. Just the way it seems to be going, it really seems that way, and especially because Jemma says these things are supposed to happen, I kind of think that maybe they are going to get together, possibly. So Daisy gives Charlie the carved bird. He says that he had to protect his daughter from his visions. She assures him that she did, and Charlie hopes that Daisy can protect his daughter. Daisy promises to do it, takes Charlie's hand. She has a vision of a derelict ship in space exploding with her in it, and Charlie apologizes for the vision and dies. Now, the thing about that, we know that's how the second half of the season started out. We saw this ship and then exploded, so something's gonna get her into that ship. We don't know how, but something gets her there. Very interesting. Charlie then dies, and I'm not upset they killed off Charlie. I think they used him to his full advantage. They really fleshed out his character. They showed his family life. They showed what his purpose is, and I really love the way that was done. Amazing stuff with Charlie overall. I thought they handled his arc really well. I definitely really enjoyed it, and really amazing stuff with this character overall. I really think the actor was good. The story was great. Just everything about it, I thought, just worked. Nothing felt weird. Nothing felt out of place. Everything, I think, with this just worked. They used it to the best ability, and I loved it overall. Really amazing stuff, and now we know that there's this other vision, and we don't really know what's going to happen. So, but we do know what's going to happen. There's nothing they can do to change it. So back at the Hydra base, Hive tells Gyra to go to the places manufacturing the technology. He's interesting. Malick calls Gyra and reminds him he should be at his side all times. Gyra says that he's where he's supposed to be, hangs up, then tells Hive that Malick is fine. And the Inhuman says that Malick sounded afraid, and that's very interesting, the fact that he said he sounded afraid, because it sounds like Hive does in fact think that Malick is afraid of him, that maybe Malick is afraid of the power within him, and that's basically the episode ends. So amazing stuff overall, guys. I love pretty much everything about this episode. This was a very strong one. I love the character of Charlie. I love the way he fleshed out his life, and I also loved now that we have this vision, because we don't know what's going to happen there. We don't know if Daisy's going to end up in, how she ends up in space, how it ends up exploding with her in it. We know that we're probably looking at a Daisy death this season, which is crazy because this entire season has pretty much been Daisy's. I mean, last season, yeah, as well, but a lot of this season, especially this episode, focused a lot on Daisy. And if we lose Daisy, I mean, I don't know what this show is going to be like, because I can't really see this show without Daisy. Daisy's kind of the thing that's made this show as good as it is. I mean, you guys know Daisy kind of started up the old Inhuman thing, and she kind of made the show, I mean, the best way, and she knows it can't change his future. That's what scares her, but what Charlie did save her, as we know, that's why she wasn't shot, and now that she doesn't have Charlie, it seems like it's not going to be as easy. So definitely interesting. I can't wait to see what happens with that. Very interesting stuff overall. I do like the way that Coulson and Lincoln are starting to bond. I definitely enjoyed that overall. I thought that was really good. What's going to happen to Lincoln? Obviously, he's going to be in the same situation as Mac. He's probably going to have to sit the next mission out because he's wounded. I like the way that Andrew said that Lash could be an adversary to them, and not an adversary, but an ally. And in many ways, yeah, he would be a good ally for them because of the fact that he could kill some Hydra agents. He could kill some Inhumans that decided to work with Hydra. He could really be used in any way they need him to, and I really love the way that they show that. He doesn't necessarily have to be this villain. He could be an ally, and I really like that they should use him to his fullest potential, and I think it just makes him a much more interesting character, and I really enjoyed that. So Fitz and Jemma, you can tell these two are getting closer, definitely. I mean, after that scene, they're really realizing that this is just happening. This romance is just, it's blossoming right before their eyes, and there's nothing they can really do about it. It's really sweet, honestly. I like the way that it's done. I think the Jemma and Fitz don't really realize that it's happening, but it's just seamlessly happening before them, and there's nothing they can really do about it. Really sweet, really enjoy it, and you guys know I've always really liked Fitz and Jemma. They've always been one of my favorite parts of this show. It's really sweet stuff overall. Let's talk about Malick, though, because Malick seems to have this power within him, and he doesn't really, I think, fully understand it. The fact that he's changing, the fact that I think Hive has made him stronger, he's kind of scared because now he knows that he has this incredible strength that he can just kill someone like that, and I don't know if Malick necessarily not that he doesn't want it, but that he just doesn't understand it, and he doesn't really know how to control it, how it's going to change him as a person. He doesn't really know these things. I think it's very interesting. I can't wait to see the way that goes, because this has made Malick, just like I said, from an ordinary, typical, like, oh, I'm the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D, I'm angry all the time guy, to a much more compelling character. I've heard a lot of people say Malick's not all that compelling. He just has made all the decisions for Hydra, and we basically had to follow him. He's basically become the main villain in the story because he's the leader of Hydra. But this makes him more interesting. It shows why he's going to be such a threat, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But overall, guys, much guys saw this episode. Like I said, one of my favorite episodes of the season, without a doubt. Absolutely loved it. Especially the Daisy focus, because you guys know how much I love Daisy. But I will see you guys next week, which will be for the season finale of American Crime Story, People vs. O.J. Simpson, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.